Hello? This works, right? Okay, perfect. Wonderful. um, Your Excellencies, distinguished guests, fellow youth, ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon and welcome to the high-level closing of this year's edition of the IRENA Youth Forum. My name is Lydia Sansalzano, and it is my greatest honor to be moderating today's event alongside with Sajid as members of IRENA's Youth Council. IRENA's Youth Council is a body that represents young people from around the world and their respective organizations that are driving a just energy transition in their own ways. Today, we are joined by representatives of member states, international organizations, and all. Thank you all for being here. Your presence in engaging with youth in the energy space is valued and appreciated by all of us. It demonstrates a clear and much needed leadership to bring young people to the negotiation table when we discuss a just energy transition. Today, we are also joined by the many young people you see in this room today. And it is yet again another record-breaking number of youth delegates that are participants of this year's IRENA Youth Forum. To all of the youth delegates, thank you for the energy you bring when we talk about an energy transition. These past 2 days have been filled with meaningful discussions, capacity building workshops, collaborations, as areas of policy, finance, innovation, and ambitions were discussed extensively. But these conversations have also been filled with ambition, companionship, hope, determination, and an undeniable and unstoppable energy to continue to drive forward together as we meet our energy goals for a climate-secure future. Prior to commencing our session, we would like to once again extend our gratitude to IRENA, its member states, and its partner organizations for continuing to create a powerful space for meaningful youth inclusion. The outcome of the past 2 days would have not been possible without your support and trust. So thank you. We are excited to be a part of the energy transition conversation with you. Not just today and during the next 2 days of the assembly, but for the next months and years to come. As someone who was part of IRENA's inaugural Youth Forum in 2020, when I was just 17, it really gives me so much joy to be standing here looking out at this room and seeing how our presence as young people in the energy negotiations has increased. I am sure that our presence does not go unseen, whether it's making interventions during plenaries, leading conversations, or just having coffee breaks and discussing with each other. We know that as young people, we are the future generations to come as we lead the fight towards climate change. But we as young people are also the leaders of today. We are the engineers driving technological advancements, the entrepreneurs devising new innovative solutions, the policymakers advocating for inclusive energy policies, and so much more. And it is our hope that over the coming 2 days, we continue to strive progress and engage in discussions by sharing our own perspectives from our own local regions, sharing what has been done and how much more we can do by going back to our local communities and working even harder. The need for a just energy transition is clear. Whilst we aim to triple renewable energy capacity, as agreed upon the UAE consensus at COP28 in Dubai, it is important that we also don't leave anyone behind. That responsibility falls upon each and every single one of us sat in this room today. It is vital that we ensure that we continue to advocate for progress in the financing of our projects, in the policies that we advocate for, and the conversations that we engage in, always by ensuring that the goal is a just energy transition for all. And yet we cannot do this alone. Throughout today's discussion and the ones upcoming in the Assembly, and as the year rolls out, let us carry the same spirit of collaboration and of excitement that we've seen. It will not be easy by any means, but I, for one, I'm filled with hope when I look around this room. And I really do hope that we can keep this momentum going. And without further ado, I would like to open the high-level closing of this year's IRENA Youth Forum. To start our conversation, I would like to introduce the main panelists of our session for the closing plenary. I would like to introduce Mr. Riyad Madeb, who's the Director for the Sustainable Energy Hub at the UNDP, Jennifer Eldridge, who's the Senior Climate Officer of the United States Department Bureau of International Organizations Affairs, Jessica Shorted, who's the Head of Corporate Communications Government Relations at BASF, as well as Omaira Jadiab, who is our fellow IRENA Youth Delegate 2025 and will be moderated the discussion by Sajid. Sajid, over to you, and thank you and welcome all.
Thank you, Lydia. Thank you for that very encouraging message to the young people as well as the senior experts as well. And this is naturally intergenerational dialogue, as all dialogues should be. So we had an exciting 2 days of the Youth Forum, and youth are very much energized on what the topics were this year. And so now they are very keen to hear from the experts. And we have a youth panelist as well among us who will communicate to you what happened during the last 2 days so that we can have a sort of a holistic discussion going forward today. So to start the plenary conversation today, I will first go to Riyadh. So my first question is sort of going towards the last COP's outcomes as well, I suppose. So my question is, energy financing is a critical component of the just energy transition. What are the priorities of the UNDP Sustainable Energy Hub in the context of making energy financing more accessible? And what financial mechanisms are available to youth in the energy space?
Thank you very much, Sajid, for inviting UNDP and for, like last year, to invite us at the closing from the Youth Forum. The question regarding finance, and it was the COP29 was the COP of finance. And the main objective was also to respond to the UA consensus. Tripling renewable energy, doubling energy efficiency, yes, but how? What are the different instruments that exist for them? And one of the things that UNDP is doing is focusing more specifically on market development. 3 elements are very important for us. The current portfolio of UNDP on renewable energy is around $3.2 billion, including co-financing. You will think it's very big. It is not enough based on the reality, based on the need, based on the $1.7 trillion which are needed by developing countries. This is the reality. We have around 327 initiatives in 178. I'm looking at the young ones in my team because my brain is shrinking and I'm aging. So you always laugh. Market development, it means 3 levels of action. The first one is how we can help countries to de-risk, how we can work on regulatory and institutional framework in order for them to be able to secure the investment in the renewable energy. One element, but that's not enough. And we're implementing it, for example, in 21 countries in Africa. Second element, which is very important, is innovative financial instruments. such as blended finance, bond, debt swap for energy. And the third element, we are focusing mostly on developing a pipeline of a bankable project. Finance exists. What is missing in most of the countries is a pipeline of bankable project. That's why we are really investing, with, especially with, through an agreement that we have with the Italian government, and also which led to the development of the initiative of the G7 under the Italian presidency, which is Energy for Growth. This is what UNDP is leading. This is linked to one element when you ask, how are you supporting the youth to have access finance and what could be their role? One of the initiatives that we are currently implementing, and probably some of the youth representatives here benefited from them because I saw some of them, is a Youth for Climate initiative through our office in Rome, through the Italian government, where we award a certain amount of money to young entrepreneurs developing their initiatives. But I keep discussing with the youth, and everybody is asking me, can we have some resources? Can we have some resources to develop an initiative? Not everybody should be entrepreneur. And that I'm very careful. We cannot just support entrepreneurs. We are looking for also other kind of actors. Actors that can advocate, actors can work on thought leadership, actors can work on digital intelligence, on data, on AI. How do you approach access to finance to AI? How AI is changing the access to finance? And this is where we are looking in terms of your role in the future. Thank you, Sajid.
Thank you very much, Riyad. I wanted to pull out those concepts like AI into the sort of the discussion in the mix. And one of the reasons I went for you first is to make you sort of disclose your young team as well. So it's good to know that you are traveling with a young team, and that is what
40% of my team has less than 30 years old.
Yeah, that is what actually the young people here need to hear as well, that these global processes are recruiting young people for responsible positions, and that is really encouraging for the young people here. And with that, from the financing side, I want to start with that. And then now we are going into governance side a little bit. And I want to ask Jennifer, thank you for joining us today. And I want to pose this question. The young energy workforce is critical for the just energy transition. What key policy decisions and subsequent programs are implemented in the United States currently to support the transition?
Thank you very much, Sajid, Lydia, and thank you to Irina for inviting me to join this panel. First of all, I just want to say how exciting it is to see all of these young people. I was speaking with Omira before we got started here, and she told me a little bit about how many people applied to be youth delegates and how few people were selected, which says a lot about the quality of people here, but also the number of applications just tells me how much interest there is in the energy transition among young people, and I think that is just so encouraging. So it's a pleasure to be with you here today. One of my favorite things to do in my job, which I don't get to do often enough, is to speak with young people, people who are just starting out in their careers, people who are thinking about a career. It's really invigorating. It reminds me of the importance of our work. And I also learn a lot, and I'm reminded constantly about how important it is for our leaders, whether they're government leaders or business leaders, to engage with youth and not just to speak to or at youth, but to listen and to be at the table and invite them to the table and to be part of the process. As Lydia said, you all are not only the leaders of the future, but the leaders of today. And so thank you for all the work that you're doing. Turning to the question, the energy transition is and will continue to be a driver for jobs. what do young people need? They need employment. According to the International Energy Agency, clean energy employment has expanded and exceeded fossil fuel employment since 2020. And today, clean energy industries employ more than 36 million people worldwide. Of course, as we move towards the goal of net zero, this number has the capacity and will only expand. When President Biden took office in 2021, he made it clear that people would be at the center of his climate agenda. And I think that he has proven that that's the case. As he put it, and he said many times, when I think of climate, I think of jobs. So this has been a central feature of his whole of government approach to the energy transition. In 2022, specifically, the US passed the Inflation Reduction Act, which was the largest investment in climate and clean energy in the history of the United States. The IRA allocates approximately $370 billion for a wide range of initiatives, from renewable energy development like solar and wind, to energy efficiency programs, EV incentives, clean energy manufacturing, long-term tax incentives, and environmental justice programs. In addition to the IRA, the Biden administration has catalyzed over $900 billion in private sector investment, half of that for clean energy. They've added added more than 100 gigawatts of new clean energy, enough to power more than 25 million homes, and conserved more than 42 million acres of public lands and waters. Last year alone, US clean energy jobs grew at double the rate of job growth in the rest of the economy, and clean energy unionization rates reached the highest level in history. And the intent behind all of this increased investment is that it will translate to innovation, action, and impact, the topic of our conversation here today, on energy transition. And that's really where youth come in, as future generations that will live with the consequences of climate decisions and policies that are made today. We need all of your innovative ideas. We need your energy. We need your action and your commitment and your advocacy to continue accelerating the shift to clean energy systems in the future. Thank you.
Thank you, Jenny, for your comments on that. And yeah, clearly, the more the investments that are coming in, more requirement of workforce. That would mean that more opportunities for young people to get involved in the transition process in a more effective way, in a more impactful way. But always there are challenges that would sort of be presented to the young people when they are planning their careers. So with that thought in mind, I want to sort of go to our representative from the youth delegation this time for the Youth Forum, Omaira. So extending that thought, can you share your experiences and the challenges you faced as a young leader working on the renewable energy, as an engineer as well? How did you address them? Can you elaborate on that?
Okay. Thank you so much, Sajid, for that question. And thank you to Irina before I even get started. Thank you so much. A heartfelt thank you to Irina on behalf of all the youth delegates for giving us an opportunity and a platform to discuss topics that are so relevant and things that we are so passionate about. So thank you so much, because that is not available in every discussion and in politics and things like that. But we thank Irina for giving us the platform. To answer your question, so I think there's three parts to this. First, I will speak about my experience, also what I have learned and experiences that the youth has, the challenges that they are facing, and we've heard about the past 2 days. So some of the challenges would be, I would say, as a youth, being young and being a female. I don't know which one of the two it is that affects this, but there's a sense of lack of respect, and we are often not taken seriously. Okay, that's not. Sorry, I'm very discussing tone, so I would like to engage with everybody, and this is limiting. But yeah, I feel like we are not taken seriously because of our age, and the conversation of you don't have enough experience is always a topic. And while we admit that yes, we don't have enough experience, but that doesn't mean that we don't have an education background, and we also require the opportunities to be given that experience. You know, that's the only way we are going to gain experience, is when we're given that opportunities. The second thing is, well, coming from an engineering background and male-dominated field, sometimes your opinions are dismissed. One, probably because of your age, and again, you don't have experience. So for me, while we see that what has been implemented for years is somewhat working, while the youth do not have all the experience, we are definitely educated and innovative. So perhaps if given the opportunity and if taken seriously, if our voices are heard, we can come up with innovative solutions. Sometimes it feels like we speak and our voices are being dismissed. And likewise on site, it's a male dominated with construction workers, and then they see a female coming in, and so many times in so many discussions, I've been mistaken. What am I, admin? Do I belong to art? I mean, the stereotypes. We need to get rid of that. So we need to assert dominance in our field. And as the youth and as women in STEM, I would like to say that we are not here to just fit in. We're here to make impact, and we are here to lead. The second point that has come up often during our youth discussions is the lack of finances and resources. In so many communities, due to politics, monopoly, and all these internal issues within certain countries and communities, there are so many communities and people that are cut off. We talk about the just energy transition and we talk about renewable energy, but there are some communities that don't even have electricity. And as youth, and from the discussions that I've had, there are so many delegates in their countries that are trying their best to make a difference and to reach these communities, but they are limited. They have limited resources, they have limited finances. There's only so much that we can do as youth. And that is why these platforms are so important, so that we can voice our opinions and get the assistance of those that are in power. And thirdly, I would like to actually speak and represent for the youth delegates that are not here. And they are not here not because they are not good enough to be here, but because they have been completely cut off for reasons like war, politics, lack of resources. There are still people in this world who don't have access to internet, fair education. So it's not even that they are not good enough to be here. That's why they're excluded. They are not here because of their circumstances. So I would also like to voice on behalf of the youth in those communities. They are so innovative. If we look at the poorer communities, I mean, like filtering water, they don't have fancy equipment. They come up with innovative solutions and to power their homes and to access water and things like that. They are so innovative, and they lack representation. So we must not forget about them. It's not that they are not good enough or that they are not equal. There's so much of power and intelligence there, and they have been cut off. And when we talk about the youth, we can't just talk about those of us in the room. We also need to think about them. So those are some of the few the few challenges I would say that obviously we're not taken seriously. The financial issues, lack of resources and funding, and also lack of representation. I think that is also an issue. There are discussions that happen and decisions that are made for the youth, but youth are not included in those discussions. It's like, just a hypothetical example, it's like a table surrounded with males making decision on pregnancy and birth. You need to include females in that conversation. Likewise, if you are taking decisions for our future, we need to be at that table. And just one more thing. When we talk about renewable energy and tripling renewable energy and the just energy transition and the future and the goal by 2030, I mean, that's in 5 years' time. And we have goals for 2050 and things like that. we are not just the future generation, we are also the present. So it is important for us to be included in these discussions and on these platforms, because we want to be heard, and we want to be heard not out of arrogance, but because we are passionate and we are resilient and we want to make a difference. We can't do it without you guys, and neither can you guys do it without us. The conversation works both ways. Thank you.
Thank you, Amara, for those critical thoughts. I think there are numerous challenges the young people are facing. So that is why in a conversation like this, all the stakeholders should be present, the government, the private sector, the industry, the multilateral system, the non-governmental sector as well. So that is why we should have a sort of a wholesome and inclusive discussion, and that is exactly what we are trying to do today. And with that, I will sort of head towards the industry and the private sector. And there is sort of a very critical need for young people to engage in large numbers if we are to meet the targets of tripling renewable energy and doubling energy efficiency as well. So I will like to go to Jessica for the next question. How is BASF engaging with youth to co-develop innovative solutions for renewable energy adoption and sustainability? And also, what advice would you give to young professionals aspiring to create impact within large corporations like BASF?
Thank you so much, and thanks for having me on behalf of BASF. I could actually reply to that question and talk for an hour, so I'll try to keep it short, but I also just want to say, I mean, I was already super happy to be here and to be invited, because this topic and the combination of youth and sustainability is really close to my heart, and it's not just from a professional perspective. I'm a mother of 2 teenagers, so, you know, that is something that you think about also in the private life. So it's a combination, and I think I'm lucky enough that I also have this in my profession and try to tackle the challenges. And I especially loved how passionate you just were. I love it. That's exactly what we need. These are exactly the kind of people and the thinking and the mindset that we're looking for. It's, yeah, thank you. That was very refreshing, really cool. So back to BASF. I don't know how many people know BASF, so it's like the world's biggest chemical company. So very often the villain in the story, right? So for us, it's also very important that we do connect with, let's say, even each age of the youth. We even start with kids in like so-called kids labs that we have in 30 countries. They're like between 6 and 12, where we try to say, look, chemistry, it's, you know, it can also be a solution. And don't forget about it. And, you know, you can change the world also by using chemistry, right? Because in the end, I mean, I don't know, but BASF, for example, it's literally in everything, right? It's in your sunscreen, it's in the packaging of your sunscreen, it's in your sole of your sneakers, it's in the coating color of your car. So, I mean, the brand is not there, but you basically see it everywhere. So if there is no chemistry or chemicals, the world would look very different. So it's just a matter of, okay, how can we make it more sustainable? So we have several other initiatives, so for the kids, but then for 15 to 20-year-olds, where we work with really worldwide associations. One is called Young Achievers Worldwide, JA Worldwide, if you want to check it out on Google later. Then we have a program, it's called MBASF, so where we basically work together with universities and students and, you know, talk about real problems and look at real production and go in the laboratories, and it's very hands-on, right? So to not just share the knowledge. I think knowledge sharing is of course super important, but I think that maybe even more important is to build the confidence and to encourage and really inspire, right? That you also come forward with an idea. So I think that's also a very important part of it. Then regionally, so just to give 2 examples that we have here in this region, because I work for the Middle East and Egypt, so we work very closely here with the Khalifa University and the German Chamber on a Young Future Energy Leaders program already since a couple of years. So these are things where we connect and where we hope as many students and people as possible engage, where we want to bring that platform, right? We want to give you the tools. We want to inspire and encourage. So of course, we need the youth, but also it's our job to give you that platform, right? And to include you in all of these steps. And I mean, just to, I know numbers are boring, but when I heard them for the first time, was pretty impressed. BASF is investing 2.1 billion euros annually in research and development. That's the highest in the industry. So that just shows you how important it is. And we have, I think, 10,000, so in total globally, we have 112,000 employees. 10,000 of them work in RD. Last year, we filed over 1,000 patents. I mean, you can calculate how many that is per day. And almost half of them, 40-something%, were for sustainable projects. So, I mean, we're doing everything. It's really about connecting and reaching out and looking for these opportunities. And of course, from our side to also, of course, try to be present and tell and explain, like here, that we're here and, we want this. And to give you an idea of all the opportunities and possibilities that are out there. Just to quickly, the advice that you mentioned, I mean, I would just say the same that I tell my kids, right? I mean, my son was asking me, Mom, how would the world look like when I'm your age? I was like, no idea, because the acceleration of the change is just, it's crazy. I mean, what happened in the last 100 years and the change that we have since we were children and are now, this is going to happen in the next 5 to 10 years for this generation. So it's kind of mind-boggling. So I think it's very important to be very agile and adaptable to change. And then also to, though, be very patient. I mean, if you work ever for a global corporation like BASF, or I worked for Siemens for a couple of years as well, there will be roadblocks, there are challenges, just take it step by step, and every little change that you're doing is an important point. Just don't underestimate it. Think big, but take small steps. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Jessica. Our questions are usually multi-layered, just because we need to get everything out of you in the opportunities that we get. And also it is, like you said, it's very important that there are platforms created and also the visibility created, because I know young people, they are always on search. And when they are applying for a job, sometimes they go submitting 40, 60 applications, and sometimes not being successful as well. So they are always on search. So it's really important that there are platforms created, visibility, communication that happens all the time, so that they get the information they need and they have access to that. So inclusion. So we are trying to sort of get input from all sectors. So I'll go to Satya next on the question on Global Alliance for a Sustainable Planet. It's a great concept. So it provides a collaborative space for green transformation. We want to know what it means and how are the young generations taken into consideration in this transition and this scenario.
Thank you so much for having me. Thank you so much for having me, and good afternoon, everyone. I lead an organization based out of the United States. It's a public charity. What we do is we catalyze system scale shifts in human behavior. Jessica rightly, I know she's speaking from her heart. She has a tough job to defend, because everything, chemicals are a good thing, but they are a horrible thing for the planet as well. Of course, it's very easy to blame chemicals, that they have done this much damage to the fabric of the planet, to the web of life and all. But at the same time, like in economics, I'm an economist, like bad money drives good money out of the market. So bad chemistry drives good chemistry out of the market. That's what has been happening actually, because we as a population exploded beyond a sustainable limit for the planet around the 60s and the 70s, when the world was going through the early stages of the demographic transition that Malthus put forward, was that in early stages, the death rates are high and the birth rates are high, so the population is still low. Then as healthcare improves and your death rates fall, you suddenly have an explosion in the population and then you can't feed it anymore. So that's how we took to in the 60s, the so-called Green Revolution. And the country I am from, India, was the mothership of that Green Revolution. When it started, India's soil organic carbon on an average was 3%. Now it is below 0.5% in most parts of the country, where you literally have to pump all kinds of agrochemicals, 10x, 20x. It sells like candies in the shops now, And there are hospitals that actually cater to cancer patients. There are trains that are called cancer trains, Cancer Express. You go from one part of the country to another part, wailing, crying, grieving family members that are taking their relatives to a cancer hospital. That's what it has come to. Now, did young people have a hand in it? None of it whatsoever. As has already been spoken by many of the esteemed panelists, this is a conversation that my generation is solely responsible for. We have done zilch. We paid lip service to the big problem as it has kept compounding into a monster. And now we're telling the young people, I have 2 children of my own, and they ask me tough questions at home. One is an environmental economist, the other is just growing up to be a scientist. And she works at Johns Hopkins back in Baltimore, and she's working at the frontier of science as to how to make it possible for the web of life to be repaired back and made whole. So to answer your question, when your son asks, and you're being very honest there, what we've done in the last 100 years to the planet is extraordinary. In every sense of the term, every layer you can think of. You can go from air to water to soil, the 7 layers of the soil food web, the substrata, everything we've destroyed literally. And we find peace in our hearts to go to sleep comfortably. Leaving our children, the young people, possibly 5 to 10 years. What's happening in Los Angeles is not an accident. Don't kid yourself into believing that. It's decades of neglect by the richest country on the planet. So that's where the challenge is. When you are the richest country of the planet and you still can't deal with it, that's Mother Nature speaking to you. My heart goes out to all the people that have suffered. I was heading the UN's Global Forest Conservation Office. It was called RED Plus program. Many of you might know about it. It was called UN Orchid. I was the executive head of it 10 years ago. I was in Indonesia in 2015 when literally Indonesia burned down. The single day emissions of the forest fires was more than the annual emissions of industrialized nations like UK, France, Germany, take your pick. So that's the challenge. What can we do? So coming back to the Global Alliance, what do? We're an alliance of about 350 organizations. The smallest one is led by a very young person that has a mission and an ambition. And the biggest one is Federated Hermes, a Pittsburgh-based company, $800 billion in assets under management. So that's the range at which we are in terms of our partners. What do? We catalyze system-scale shifts in climate action, call it environmental protection. A program we did in Indonesia is a project that has successfully protected forests 6 times the size of the country Singapore in Bukit Tigapulu forest. It is the world's most successful project in forest conservation with private money. And it was backstopped by USAID, so much grateful to them. The second one we have supported is a project in India where 1 million farmers have converted to sustainable farming, 1 million women farmers. And they just won the Gulbenkian Prize for Humanity by a jury led by Angela Merkel, the former German Chancellor, €1 million prize. It's considered the Nobel Prize for project with greatest potential for humanity. And there the German government, the KfW, the German Development Bank, actually has put in a €210 million loan at 0.45% coupon. So when people say the world is not listening and the world doesn't work together, that's not true. All sides have to come together. And it is young people that are doing it. We're about to announce a project called GREAT. Reuters recently carried a wonderful feature of it. It's all young people, young entrepreneurs, young climate champions that are thinking beyond their means and thinking beyond their place, as some might say, but with the right attitude and the right motivation. It's a combination of ultra low-tech stuff. Poor people are willing to make the climate transition, provided we can unburden them financially of the cost of that transition. It is really rich. Let me give you an example. I'm talking facts here. It's not rhetoric. Between the United States, my adopted home, and the European Union, 50% of the carbon budget has been used of the planet, with less than 10% of the population. And then you expect people from Africa and Asia and Latin America and everybody else to show good behavior. And I was telling my good friend, the Environment Minister of Canada, a while ago, when she was still the minister, is that it is Canada's carbon footprint per capita is 16 tons. So in my country, it's 2 tons. It was 1.9 at that time. When I had this conversation, I said, don't you think it's a little rich that somebody that has 8 whole meals a day, 16 divided by 8 is by 2 is 8. So somebody that is eating 8 whole meals a day is telling someone that eats actually less than 1 meal is that you need to do better. Your behavior has been really not good. How does that sound to people? But that's one end of the conversation. The other end of the conversation is, let's stop blaming each other, because the planet is burning literally as we keep pointing fingers at each other. What can we do together without thinking that I'm doing charity? No, you're not doing charity. It's a moral question. The world is full of good people. Let's bring our moral core out. Let's work together to empower young people that have the best of ideas, because it is their life we are talking about. It is their future we are talking about. We keep telling that it's the planet's future. Nonsense. The planet has been here for billions of years. It will be here after us. We're talking about the future of humanity. And when we say we're talking about the future of humanity, we're talking about the future of young people. But that's the humanity we're talking about. I'm done. I'm more than 60. Seriously. I'll be fine. No, I'm not done yet, but it's...
Oh, no, you're not done.
So we really need to respect young people, not lip service. We do that all the time, We did that with women. We tell them, we don't find women to work in corporate jobs and all. We can't find people that qualify for senior positions. You don't find people because you have disenfranchised them for hundreds and hundreds of years. You have to bring in people. That's what affirmative action looks like. We have to do exactly the same for young people. Not lip service. Not just give them a seat at the table, but shut up and listen to them carefully. What is it they're telling us? And what can we do to empower them so that they not only buy into the whole idea of a climate resilient future, but they own that future? That's what we do at the Global Alliance every day. Thank you.
Thank you, Satya, for those critical remarks. And thank you for showing up for young people as well. And so with that, we are moving towards sort of the second round. And I want the interventions to be punchy and quick as well. So I'll go to Jennifer. What advice do you have for young practitioners here who are interested in acquiring skills to amplify and impactfully engage in the energy transition, with some examples from the United States as well?
Thank you very much. I'll try to be punchy. What advice do I have for young people? One bit of kind of esoteric advice that you'll hear from just about everyone who gets this question, which is to follow your passion. There is plenty of room we need a lot of different types of people involved in the just energy transition. We do need entrepreneurs, but not just entrepreneurs, as Riyadh pointed out. So we need writers, we need reporters, we need scientists, we need economists. You've heard a lot of examples here today. So whatever it is that interests you, engineers, there's room for you. The second piece of advice I would give you is much more kind of practical, and that is to be bold, find people who are doing what you think you find interesting, and talk to them. Invite them for coffee. Ask them if you can shadow them for the day and learn more about what their job looks like from day to day. If you're a young woman getting started, find a woman that you admire who's in the profession that you're interested in going into or advancing in, and have a conversation with her. I think you'll find that most people, first of all, love talking about themselves, but they're also very happy to impart their experiences to young people coming into their field. And you also have a lot to teach them. And so I would just encourage you to take any opportunity that you can to do that. Speaking specifically to the question about what the United States is doing, in 2023, so a little over a year ago, President Biden announced the creation of the American Climate Corps. This is a workforce training and service initiative that will put young people to work in the energy transition, and thus far it's already employing 15,000 young people. So yeah, the government is always looking, US government is always looking for young people. We have many programs both at the State Department and across government to bring young people in through internships, including the Pathways program. We have fellowship programs for people coming out of college. And we also do a lot of exchange programs for young people through the State Department. So I'll leave it there. Thanks.
Thank you, Jennifer. And with that, I'll come to Jessica on BSF. And another way forward question, how can youth and corporations collaborate to scale renewable energy projects, and how can young people be a part of that?
I think it's not even a question of how can, or it's not even an option. It's the only way forward. There is no other way to go. We have some of the initiatives that I mentioned, but they're more to again give a platform if it really comes to taking action. We have also incubators or graduate programs where you will be taken for 3 years through BSF in different countries and really get like a fast track and support. Then we have it's like let's say a blueprint that shows how students and corporations can work together. We have a so-called spec track project. It sounds very technical, but it's about technical solutions using AI for recycling to improve it. And it's basically, I mean, if you throw your plastic bottle away, you still have some substances in it, and they're different ones. If it's from your morning coffee or if it's whatever. So this AI can detect it, and then with that vary the process of how it's going to be recycled. So that guarantees that the best quality of recycled plastic is going to come out, and that will, of course, again and again. So circular economy will then also kind of be dealt with, but that just shows this just one example, right? One project out of many that we have globally. But what I think is important, and this is also like a practical one, so whoever is interested, you can go online and check Chemovator. You can also later come to me and ask me how to write that. It's really where not just young people, but anyone can come with an idea. It doesn't need to be an entrepreneur. It can be someone with an idea or a dream and pitch it. It could also be somebody from within BASF. If you just start working for us or the company and you have an idea, you just come forward. And these are basically then startups that we really build and focus on. So this is a very, let's say, hands-on or practical support, how we try to push it. But yeah, in general, I think also, again, for me, being here and not just talking, and I also found it quite impressive when you said, you know, we're young, our age, experience, nobody's listening to me. I mean, I remember when after my first, after graduation, my first job, I was in the same situation. I was like, oh God, so how long is this going to continue until somebody will take me seriously, right? So now, more than 20 years later, people do, but I think it's unfair if it's just because of age and, you know, I look older, so that means I must have more experience. I don't think that's, you know, fair enough. But to be a little bit optimistic also, I mean, when I look 20 years back, I don't know how about you, but I can see that a lot has changed. I mean, still too slow, no question, but when it comes to youth sitting at the table, totally different situation. When I look at how many women sit here in this row, already a nice change has happened, right? I mean, it took 20 years, let's not take it another 20 years, please. But so just to say also a bit of the glass half full, right? We're on the right track, we just kind of need to speed it up a little bit.
Thank you, Jessica. Thank you so much. And Riyadh, going towards UNDP now. What is UNDP Sustainable Energy Hub doing in enhancing and advancing youth participation?
Thank you, Sajid. I was really inspired by what you said. And you said the young people are very creative, are innovative, but I will add, they are dreamers. Youth is just, it's not a phase. It's a revolution that's going to happen. It means what's going to happen, what a dreamer will do is to realize his dream. And the dream that you need to realize in renewable energy is the sustainable renewable energy revolution. You cannot respond what we said this morning, Sajid, on tripling renewable energy without doing a revolution. It is not only finding financial instrument, it is not only bankable project, it is completely changing the approach, transforming it into action, and stopping pledges and hopes. But for that, one element which is very important that we've done in Sustainable Energy Hub in UNDP, we have developed a Sustainable Energy Academy. I had the choice to give it to a consultancy firm, pay money, we develop all the modules, and we train. I made another choice as soon as I arrived. I recruited all those young people that you see here. Didn't know anything. They have developed 12 modules, from energy to just energy transition, from gender and energy and the role of youth in energy. For finance and energy, the role of data and AI in energy. Now all those modules are reviewed by 5 academies from each continent, because I didn't want to have only the interpretation from the famous universities from the global north. I wanted our universities from the global south, their perspective to be reflected. And I'm very proud of this work. And by March, if I'm not mistaken, if you are respecting the deadline, we will release the first academy. Not only it was developed by the youth, but it is also the fact that I wanted to do something completely different than usual. Usually we go organize workshop, we train young people on the issue, and after that it is done. No, it's going to be online. But it's not only going to be online and you do all your modules and you get your certificate. You have a big component on AI that help you to analyze data. And we wanted to have something with the instrument of the youth of today for them to make decisions. I do not believe that decision can be made without having access to qualitative data, but more importantly, to have the possibility to interpret the data. And that is another way of doing what I call the revolution. And you are the actor of this revolution. Thank you.
Thank you, Riyad. Thank you for creating informed platforms and modules. And they are critical for young people to get educated and build their capacity. And with that, I'll come back to Satya. Your network engages with innovative partners, and where do you see the spaces for young people to engage? What could improve?
Well, let me quickly share with you an example, which is extraordinary in what it does to SDGs and poor people. I talked about poor people, people at the bottom of the pyramid, being able to do the climate transition, being willing to do the climate transition, if we can unburden them financially of the cost of the transition. So a bunch of young people came together and they started this project, and we've supported them along the way. The pilot has 15,000 families. They're very successfully implemented. And now when we talk about energy, we talk about renewables and we talk about electricity mostly. And then, when we get a little more inclusive, we talk about fuel as energy. But what is the most important part is that about 7 billion people on the planet actually have very little access to energy in the household itself. In rural parts of the world, and this example is from India, of course, is that people that use solid wood for cooking are actually cooking food and cooking themselves as well, because it is toxic black carbon that they are inhaling, their children. A poor person's home, the living room is the bedroom, is the study, is the dining room, is the kitchen, everything is one. So that's what happens. And children that should be in school, especially the girl child, is actually going around picking up firewood for the family, and the moral high ground she is given is that, oh, my child, you are feeding the whole family, and you put your hand on her head and you say, oh, you're such a wonderful child, because you don't have to go to school, you slog for the family. And that's what is happening. So the mother is cooking herself, and the child is losing school. That's what is happening. The other thing that was happening is that people have cattle, cows and ox and all, So they take the cow dung and the cow urine, they put it in an open pit for composting, because that's a replacement for chemical fertilizers, so that saves them money, And then what happens? It's open pit, so it destroys the groundwater, it contaminates it completely. Open pit, all kinds of fleas and all kinds of insects that make you sick otherwise as well. They are transporting and transmitting diseases. And then it is emitting methane, which is we calculated these emissions, and we found that there are 8,000 kilos of CO2 equivalent every year. So we've created a solution. Young people created a solution, and the solution is phenomenal. So we took those 8 carbon credits, we sell them for about $150 per annum. That's what it gets at this time. I think it should get to the right price, because then we can do a lot more. And then we get an inflatable biodigester. The family only has to not do what they are doing and take the same biomass and put it into the biodigester. That's all they have to do, no extra burden. We even give them a wheelbarrow so that they can carry it efficiently and put it there. That biodigester provides enough gas, and then we also give them piped gas into their homes. And because it is burning efficiently now, the methane, that's how you get the carbon credits. And so two burner gas stove and all the piping, no cost to the family, zero. And then each biodigester produces 15,000 kilos of biofertilizer every year. That's how you displace the fertilizer market and pesticide market, not by lip service. Because when we have 1 million of these, we are talking about 15 million tons of biomanure. Because once it is available at scale, then it is in competition to chemical fertilizers. Otherwise, it's just talk. So we've done 15,000. All the cost is recovered in roughly 4 years. Come 5th year onwards, we give 80% of the carbon money to the women in the family. And the biomanure is also given free to the farmer. They can use it in their fields or they can sell it in the market. We have done 15,000. We're now scaling it to 10 million. Next step. And day after tomorrow, I am meeting a senior advisor to the president of Rwanda because he's very interested in seeing how we can bring it to Rwanda. Rwanda has 18 million animals. I was recently in Azores, the autonomous region of Portugal. I met the president there, and they have what you call happy cows. They have 300,000 of those. How can we bring this to them? And it's a Cuban company. It's a great South-South collaboration. And so what I'm trying to say is, if we work with young people and we find the right kind of levers, and here there is zero subsidy. Nobody needs to give us a penny. The market will take care of it. That's why I say we try to fix and heal the planet, and the market will fix itself. You have to start somewhere, and so this is a great case study, I would say. Thank you.
Thank you, Satya. And I was talking about Punchy, so finally to the big punch. Omaira, what is your message for the young women and young people in general as well? How to take the leadership and take this forward?
Okay, I'm going to keep this very to the point. If we start with young women in STEM and in any field, I would say that we need to focus on collaboration more than competition. There's a space for all of us at the table. And if we don't unite and actually try to bring each other up, then what chance do we stand? We need to collaborate, focus on collaboration more than competition. We are already passionate and we are extremely passionate, but we also need to be persistent and resilient. Don't be disheartened when your voices don't get heard. Don't give up. As Jessica said, hopefully it doesn't take us 20 years. So I would say we also need to focus on mentorship. And to the seniors in the room, I would say, be the mentor that you wish you had when you were younger. Okay? And opportunities like this, network and collaboration. Network, you are in the presence of people of power and influence. So be heard and make yourself known, not just for the woman in STEM, but also the youth in general. The other thing is, as much as, yes, we want our voices to be heard and we are educated, the truth is we don't know everything. Nobody knows everything. So be open to constructive criticism, okay? Don't be arrogant. Sometimes some youth can come across as arrogant. Don't be arrogant. Be open. The seniors have experience. They also know what they're talking about. So as much as we want to be heard, let's also hear them out. The other aspect would be, let's see, what else? I covered mentorship. We are passionate. Yes. Oh, important. While we advocate, and we won't stop advocating for the government and people in power to hear our voices, and we know that year in, year out, it takes lots of time, and we lack finances and resources, that doesn't mean that we just sit back and do nothing about it. Okay, finances is one aspect. Use what you have in your capacity to make a difference, whether it's in accelerating the renewable energy transition. We are educated. We can go back to our communities and the youth in our communities and spread awareness and educate them. Not everything has to be a financial gain. Lend your time to the poor communities and your services. Spend time with the younger generation. Enlighten them on the challenges, on climate change. So many people in the community and the younger generation don't understand what is COP28, what is NDCs, what is the Paris Agreement. So you have that knowledge, and knowledge is priceless. So use what you have when you have and when you can, and go back and make a change. So these discussions don't just stop here on an international level. Take it forward to your communities, pay it forward on a local level. And the other thing is, don't just wait for change. Make change happen. As Riyadh said, we are going to lead a revolution for a sustainable future. And the time to act is now. So don't wait for change. Let's be the change we wish to see. Thank you.
Thank you, Omaira, for that concluding clear message. And I want to thank Jennifer, Riyadh, Jessica, Omaira, and Satya for being here for this wonderful conversation. And I want to ask you to, I wanted to ask you to remain in the panel. We are going to the next segment of the keynote speeches. And yeah, so Lydia, take it away.
Thank you so much, Sanjit. And can we please give another round of applause to everyone on our panel? I think I could have listened to you all day, and I was writing down notes and little words, and I think I have a dictionary of what this conversation was about. I heard unity, I heard revolution, I heard leaders of today, of tomorrow, of us taking the step forward. So thank you so much for such a powerful conversation. And Amira, thank you for representing us so proudly and so beautifully. You really do shine, so thank you. And can we give them just one more round of applause? And then it is my greatest honor to move on to our keynote speeches. And first of all, I would like to invite His Excellency Khaled Al Nuaimi, who's the Director of the Federal Youth Authority of the United Arab Emirates, for his welcoming address.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Can I just say I didn't want that panel to end? Even though I was coming up next, I completely forgot that I had a keynote address coming up. I'd just like to say before I start my keynote speech that a lot of the conversation that we heard in this panel was about youth not being heard, or youth not being listened to, or youth not being able to be given the chance. And I think the IRENA youth delegates and your presence here today is paramount to you being or taking the first step towards actually having a voice, and as the members here mentioned, implementing whatever you learned, taking it back to your community, and actually being the change that needs to happen. So without further ado, now we can start with the formalities. Your Excellencies, esteemed guests, and future leaders, I'm honored to join you here today to share with you the critical and central role our youth play in creating, planning, and driving solutions and strategies for a global renewable energy transition. I'm pleased to hear that there are delegates from over 51 countries here with us today, 18 of those being from the United Arab Emirates. And we pledge in the United Arab Emirates and the Federal Youth Authority that your presence here today will not be the end, but it will be the beginning of our work together in terms of energy transition and in terms of your role in moving forward with sustainable action in the UAE. I also commend IRENA for convening this forum, particularly as it relates to youth involvement with the underlying themes of innovation, action, and impact. We firmly believe that it is the youth who have the commitment, vitality, and courage to achieve these honorable goals. The forum's objectives are highly admirable and far-reaching, and that they are calling for youth to advance concepts and international best practices in sustainable and green energies. It acts as a platform to highlight the contributions of our youth, whose innovation and commitment are essential in achieving these bold goals, and to create a roadmap as to how we can all implement such youth-focused actions. We convene to showcase the significance of youth participation, recognizing them as future leaders, entrusted with translating today's ideas, initiatives, and efforts, both locally and globally, into tangible realities for a better future. As is often said, investment in youth is an investment in all of our futures, as the future belongs to those who think and act beyond perceived boundaries and challenges. And we must all hear and listen to their voices, as they are the future guardians of our planet. Here in the UAE, we are truly blessed, as our nation has always invested in our youth, seeing the younger generations as the ones to advance and improve everyone's lives. This event serves as a testament to the UAE's commitment, locally and globally, to advance sustainable societal development, supporting the pursuit of an improved present day and a sustainable future for generations to come. We're strongly guided by our leadership, who urge us to look to the future and plan for it so that our country leads globally. Thanks to this far-reaching and inclusive approach, we have been taught that nothing is impossible, or as we say in the UAE, impossible is possible. It was the founder of our nation, Sheikh Zayed bin Sultan Al Nahyan, who said, A country's greatest investment lies in building generations of educated and knowledgeable youth. And our President, His Highness Sheikh Mohammed bin Zayed, who noted that youth are the strength, energy, ambition, and wealth of our nation. As the leaders of tomorrow, they will be at the heart of our ongoing progress and must be enabled to contribute effectively to the UAE's future development and prosperity. As a nation of 53 years, the UAE is young in many aspects, particularly with our population. Yet we are harnessing this asset for the greater good of our country and its citizens by investing in youth, encouraging, nurturing, and guiding them in many spheres of learning and industry, particularly with those related to new technologies and innovations. Hence, we seek to continually empower our youth to take center stage in shaping their future, involving them in decision-making processes and planning for our collective benefit, and to take the lead in addressing issues such as climate challenges, alternate energy sources, and the environment. Therefore, future generations of leaders, you, our youth, have instilled in them a self-belief and an unquestionable ability to make change for the betterment of our society and the world. And as the peak body for advancing interests of young people in the UAE, our Federal Youth Authority's mission is to engage with and empower the young generation to be driving forces for development of a sustainability-centered economy and to become active participants and innovators in the renewable energy sector, harnessing their creativity, energy, and fresh ideas to drive sustainable development and environmental action. We've launched a range of initiatives to foster youth engagement in environmental sustainability, such as establishing the Youth Hub at COP28 UAE in 2023, outlining everyday practices for youth in terms of climate action. The Hub attracted more than 11,000 visitors over 12 days, with over 120 youth-led initiatives, as well as supporting the COP28 Youth Climate Delegate Program, the largest initiative to expand youth participation in the COP process, with over 110 youth climate delegates, particularly from underrepresented communities being selected. Those youth ended up being part of the historic UAE consensus, which took place in COP28. The authority's overarching aim with these actions is to inspire youth to pursue climate education, embrace technology, spearhead development, and engage in volunteer work to build a sustainable future for generations to come. As for youth inclusion and youth having a voice, we're proud to say that in the UAE we have over 200 youth councils, with over 2,000 mainly young Emiratis being represented across all global, private, and public institutions. When we talk about youth inclusion and youth voice in the UAE, we don't only talk about it, but we act on it. And we deliver what we promise, and we also have the backing of our government when it comes to ensuring that all entities, whether private or public, actually act on youth inclusion and youth empowerment. My final message to you is this: our young leaders and future environment ambassadors, it is our collective responsibility to embrace the development of a sustainable, resilient, and inclusive future for your generation and generations to come. Your innovative spirit and proactive engagement are crucial in driving this mission and accelerating the renewable energy transition. I'm confident that you will play a fundamentally integral role in advancing the principles of this forum, powered by an unwavering self-belief and self-awareness of your role in the future of development of society, where outstanding goals and remarkable outcomes can be achieved. Together, you will lead the way in creating a renewables-powered world and a brighter future for generations to come. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Your Excellency, for your words and the support that the UAE has always had in empowering young people. I am sure that the young people who have witnessed Abu Dhabi for the very first time this week have already witnessed the energy that showcases through the UAE's leadership when it comes to empowering young people. So we thank you. I've lived in Abu Dhabi for 10 years, so I've witnessed it firsthand, so thank you. And now I would like to welcome Ms. Gary Singh, the Deputy Director General of IRENA, for her own welcoming remarks. Thank you.
Good evening. Excellency Khalid Al Nuaimi, the Director of the Federal Youth Authority of UAE, distinguished guests, youth leaders, and friends. It's really a privilege to be here and to listen to this excellent panel because it's not often that you hear the panelists come out with, with passion and come out with really practical examples of what has worked. So I do want to congratulate all the panelists for their excellent interventions. As we move to the closing event of the 6th edition of the IRENA Youth Forum, I do want to say that over the past couple of days, this forum has once again demonstrated the power and the potential of young minds in shaping the future of renewable energy. And I'm really inspired by the passion, the creativity, and the commitment that you have brought into the discussions and interactions over these 2 days. This year, more than 100 youth delegates representing 51 countries participated in the forum. And I have to say that we had quite a tough time in being able to select them because we had a huge response. And that itself is evidence of the growing outreach that the youth forum has been having over the years. And, together, all of you have engaged in dynamic discussions on very critical topics, which were about powering communities, critical questions for social innovation and engagement in renewable energy, enhancing youth capacity for policy and project development, financing energy transition, and the pathway to COP30. This is also because at IRENA we believe that you have to be a powerful voice, but you have to be a voice that gets heard because of the knowledge and the understanding that you bring into what you say on energy transition. And when you put your ideas forward to the policymakers and others that you might interact in your own countries, trying to take forward the agenda of energy transition. So I'd like to reflect on 3 themes that have really defined this forum and highlight how they align with IRENA's own mission and the global energy transition endeavor. So first, I think it's clear to us that there is really a vital role that the youth will have to play in the energy transition, and whether it's it's talking about climate advocacy, whether it's grassroots renewable energy projects, or your contributions in the interactions that you're having with the thought leaders and amongst peers. I think all of this is extremely important because your innovative ideas in developing clean technologies, influencing policy, and also leading social enterprises remind us that the transition to sustainable energy future is not just possible, but it's already happening. So it's really a message of hope that you bring to these forums. And I have been watching these forums in the last few years. So I also see how these forums actually also transform you. When you come into the forums thinking about what you're doing individually and you get this opportunity to network, I've seen how many of you have really flowered into thinking into much bigger ways to collaborate with your peers and take your ideas forward. We also recognize your role that you're playing in initiatives like the IRENA Youth Forum, the Next Gen Accelerator, the I-Act, and we do aim to empower you, equip you, connect you with the tools, knowledge, and networks that you need to drive impactful change. The second very important theme that emerged was that it's through your very active engagement in this forum, you have really proven that the youth are ready to lead the charge in scaling renewable energy solutions across the globe and in advancing the renewable energy solutions that exist. So whether it's solar-powered innovations in rural communities, to innovative financing mechanism for clean energy, the ideas that you shared and the collaborations you have fostered here serve as a beacon of hope, and I encourage you to take these ideas forward, turning discussions into action and inspiring others along the way. The third theme that's clearly emerged is that collaboration is the cornerstone of progress, and energy transition requires collective action, as we all know. Governments, private sector players, civil society, and youth all have to work together. It's really all hands on deck approach to achieve our shared vision of a sustainable energy future. So I'm really proud to see that you have all utilized the opportunity of being together at this forum to foster partnership across regions, sectors, and generations. And the connections that you've built and the experiences that you have shared will not only strengthen your own personal journeys, but also advance global efforts in renewable energy adoption and innovation. So as I look to the future, I do want to leave a message of encouragement and also to say that, while there would be challenges, no transition is going to be without its own glitches, but there are also opportunities along the way that can be leveraged and harnessed to create your own pathways to support this transition as we move along as a global community. I also want to encourage you to keep pushing us to do more and to be able to address some of the more emerging areas of expertise and knowledge that you might need along the way, because we are here as IRENA is also a center of excellence on renewable energy. So we would be very happy to support building your knowledge and capacity as you move your own or take your own path forward in your own journey. So I'd really want to congratulate all the youth participants, speakers, organizers, and partners who have made this forum a resounding success. And I want to thank you all and look forward to seeing and tracking and hopefully, meeting you along the way as you start charting your future and move forward in your future endeavors. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Gowrie, and I'm sure that all of the young people in this room will take your word forward, and we look forward to engaging with you and IRENA along the way as we accelerate forward in this transition. Before we get started into the last part of our high-level closing, I would like to invite our panel and your excellencies for a group photo at the front, if that's, as well as everybody else. Yeah. Yes, everybody that's behind as well. I just meant to say that we can make our way over there. And of course, everyone else that's behind will join the picture as well.
don't see me.
He will stand up, so he will get.
Yeah. I'm like,